Welcome to the Lesbian Dating App Disasters podcast, hosted by Bréon LaDawn. Hi everyone, it's Bree, and we are back for episode 2. We are officially called Her, the Lesbian Dating App Disasters podcast, which I think, works. I think that is a very encompassing title. Who knows? It might change again, and that's okay, because this is a work in progress. I'm just here to have a good time and to be a voice that I would have loved to have. I can just say that it's been a day. And we're gonna leave it at that. Our great Miss Tyson is no longer with us. And I've been just stirring on what it means to be a Black woman in the entertainment industry and the options that are available and the things that she made available to me now. I can do mostly anything I want now because of her. And that is an incredible thought. It is a very incredible thought for me. So, today on episode 2, we get to talk about this time I drove across state lines to get some at 11 o'clock at night. What a time. What a time. This is also the time that this situation started a trend of women that came through my life. And I still don't know how that happened. As I've said in some of my Instagram posts, in Facebook, just social media in general, all names are changed. So you will not be able to clock anyone. And I doubt half of these people are going to know that they're on here because I don't talk to anybody. I'm not used to talking to people once we're done, So today, you guys just heard me probably slide on the floor there. Today, we are going to talk about Tanya. Yes, we're going to call her Tanya today. I think that works. Tanya. I met Tanya on the Her app. And Tanya started this trend that I mentioned of women that were still actively involved. Really high. I'm high up, so I hear it all and it whistles. But sorry. Tanya, she started a trend of me involving myself with women who were still actively dating men. And in a thing, not just, oh, I went out with this woman last night, oh, tomorrow I'm going out with this dude. It was actively in a thing with somebody, and that somebody was a dude. And after her, that just kept happening to me. That just kept being the narrative of these women that I've become interested in. And I still don't know. Things were going great. The thing with her setup was she was from Michigan. She was from Detroit. She went to school in Bowling Green, Ohio. And then she went, as we started to message, she literally left for South Africa that next week for study abroad. And I was like, oh, my music stopped. That's okay. She was leaving for South Africa the next week. And I said, okay, we can still message. We both got iPhones, so the phone is gonna work. And so we messaged, we talked all the time. And by all the time, it was not all the time. It felt like all the time because I was so nose open for her to message me. Like, I was in my phone. I was in it waiting, but she would text. She was the slowest texter I had ever had talked to at that point, and I just couldn't understand. And then when we actually met, she had an Apple Watch on, so I'm like, girl, I know you've been seeing these messages. Like, I know you've seen these. Anyway, we message, we talk, we end up FaceTiming while she was on a tour of Cape Town, and she showed me the horizon of Cape Town, South Africa on FaceTime. And I thought it was the coolest thing at that point. I was like, oh my gosh, I saw it on FaceTime, y'all. How 20, maybe it's 2016, 17? I don't know. And no, 2017. Possibly. Okay. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool technology. And I was just absolutely just smitten with her. She was just gorgeous. She was like 5'10", beautiful, beautiful brown skin. Her hair was in a smaller fro, and she had these like big glasses, beautiful teeth. And she had this BDE, but I'm also into aggressive femme qualities, and she was on it. She was on it. We'll just leave it at that. And she just felt absolutely amazing. But I hadn't met her. I still had not met her in person because she was in South Africa. So here's where things started to get weird. I tell you, she was a slow texter. And then eventually weeks would go by, like a month went by. Maybe it was around July or August. Between May and around July and August, at some point she just stopped texting me. And I was like, okay, that's strange. All right. And I get a text one day and she says, oh, my phone broke in Africa and they had to mail me a new one. And I'm like, okay. Okay, sorry to hear that. Okay, hi, what's up? And she's present for a little bit longer. And still slow texting, the conversations weren't lasting very long, but they were back to the consistent inconsistency. And she ghosted me again. Just stopped texting, like nothing exactly happened or whatever. And she pops up one more time. This was maybe around October. And I say, okay, all right, here we go. I'm still going to try to be here because I still really like you, because every time you're ghosting me, I still like you, because I'm just like, I don't understand what's happening here. And I was just still really, really into her. And she's back from South Africa, been back at this point. And she tells me about life, tells me how things are going. And something told me to go put her name in my Facebook, because I will find you. I will find you, And did some snooping, searching, found Tanya's Facebook. And do you know what I saw as the cover photo? I see Tanya in this beautiful pink peacoat, like long peacoat trench, maybe, is that a style? These bomb pink heels with the little strappy, and it's a pointed toe, and it was so cute. These cuffed jeans, and I was like, oh my God. And who's next to her? It's a man on his knee proposing to her. And I'm just melting into 1,000 pieces. Are you kidding me? So then I do some more looking. I see on Facebook it says she was in a relationship with this person. And I said, okay, here we go again with some shit. And I just, I wish I had caught the hint, but I didn't. And I asked her about it because, again, I'm going to ask you, like, if I think there is somebody else outside of, like, what's being, like, outside of, like, if you didn't communicate there's somebody else and there's somebody else, like, I'm gonna address it. Like, I'm going to address it. And she says they're in an open relationship, that they do their thing. And this is kind of my first introduction into dating women who identify under non-monogamous poly choices. Yes. People who relate to non-monogamy and poly lifestyles. That's what I wanted to say. And at the time, I was like, okay, that's fine. But in my head, I was like, I'm so dope. She's not going to want him anyway. Like, she's not going to want him anyway. And that is certainly not what happened. So Tanya pops up in October. She ghosts me again. She pops up in November. And she says, yeah, my granddad died. And I'm like, oh, she's like, that's why I ghosted and things like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Is there any way that I can be a friend to you? And I was like, if I didn't have to work tomorrow, I would totally drive there right now. Mind you, she is in Bowling Green, Ohio. I am in Ann Arbor, Michigan, right at this point. And that was maybe, I think it might have been only like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Maybe it wasn't 3. It definitely wasn't 3. It might have been 2 hours, but it might have been an hour and a half. It wasn't long, but it was long, and like, I'm crossing state lines here to see you in the middle of the night. So, she says her granddad died. This is about maybe 8 o'clock. And we have more conversation, and then it comes down to, I'm going to come over and we're about to fuck. I don't know how it got there, but I think just, I could come over. I can be a friend to you. We can just chill, we can cuddle, we can smoke, we can do whatever, but then it grew, it escalated to, oh, you're gonna come over and you're gonna get this. So I take me and my 2005 black Ford Taurus, and I drive to Ohio that night. I get there, just as stunning in person, just as beautiful. And we watch a movie, and it was like some sort of action movie. And I'm not into action movies. Like, I have to be at a very specific place in the world to want to watch an action movie. And watching an action movie when I thought I was about to get this, I don't know, sis. Like, this is a little suspect. Anyway, she turns on this movie. We try to watch it. I smoke a little bit. And then everything starts to go down. Sexual intimacy starts to go down. And it happens. It's great. Let me take that back. I think at the time I was like, yes, that was great because I like her so much. I just want it all to be great. And when I look back at it, now that I'm a few years older, I have so many more skills. I feel that it could have been a better experience. But at the time, I was very, very so happy that I got to have a shot at intimacy with this woman that I had been crushing over for so long. Again, sex happens. I leave. I get back to Michigan maybe about 3 a.m. or something, which is, honestly impressive because lesbian sex goes for a really long time, y'all. It goes for a really long, it does always. It can. It does. It probably will. And that's why it's lit. Anyway, after that, she ghosted me completely and utterly. I did not hear from her ever again. Let me tell you, maybe once, like a year later, but I never heard from her again. And that crushed my heart. That was the first woman that I fell for after I had gotten out of my last relationship. And I had spent so much time invested in trying to get to know you and see you and all these things, really willing to drive, classic lesbians. Like if you're, 50 or more miles, like I'm there, like I'm ready, that's what we do. And I just could not believe that I had crossed state lines in the middle of the night for some ass, and then she never spoke to me again. I don't get it. I still don't get it. And then I went to Facebook, search her again, and I see the pictures of them have changed. I see the relationship thing go from in relationship to engaged, and oh my gosh, that really hurt my feelings so much. And it was, and out of everything, it was just the lack of communication. Like, I'm finding out that you have this man. I'm being ghosted constantly, and I'm still sitting up here looking and waiting for you. And that was definitely, an error in looking back. Like, I shouldn't have done that. But I did what I did because I really liked her. And you just did not communicate. Like, be upfront with me about who you're with, what you're doing, and let me make the decision. This also started a trend of women not allowing me to make the decision if I wanted to still engage with them if they had a man in the picture. Like, you can't make that decision for me. That's not your decision to make. And because I have had a lot of experience, like I do not, I think I have a boundary now of women, if they're still actively sleeping with men, regardless of if if they're attracted to men, whatever they identify with that's fine. Like, I don't care. Your sexuality is not for me. It's not like me passing judgment on how you identify doesn't have shit to do with me, is what I'm saying. But if you're actively still sleeping with men and sleeping with me, I can't. That's a no. That's a hard no. It's a hard line for me. And I've had to go through a lot of different dating scenarios to see that is a very hard no, because I feel that my safety becomes in jeopardy. And it's a trust thing. It's many things for me. And so yeah, Tanya started going through that dating quote unquote experience, started a whole slew of me, coming across boundaries that I now have when I approach dating. And to this day, I don't understand why she just couldn't say anything, or why, after all the things, like, I drove to you, like, I showed you that I was, like, trying to be there, and you just felt like you couldn't talk to me. And that really still boggles my mind. So yeah, I saw Cape Town, South Africa, and the time difference was crazy. But I saw Cape Town, South Africa through FaceTime, and I drove us across state lines in the middle of the night to get some ass. I sure did that. Wild, wild, wild. So thank you all for tuning in to episode 2 and being a part of this journey that I'm on, and listening to the journey that I've been through thus far. And we'll see where this goes. We will see where this goes. So, until the next episode, I will talk to you all later. Bye.